What's up, guys? This is Vaughn the Journalist Rec here again with another video. This time we're going to be talking about Patrick Williams and the prospect that he is coming out of Florida State, the forward that is going to be making a lot of waves, especially in the mid-round selection, especially for teams that just barely making to the playoffs or just basically exiting early that had a chance of basically making it to the playoffs. And he's going to be a fantastic pick for one of these teams that's coming up in the draft. Patrick Williams is a solid player from Florida State. Basically, the versatility of this man can know no bounds. But before we get into Patrick Williams and his amazing college play and basically look at him as a prospect, I just want to talk about our channel right now. We are revamping Vaughn the Journalist, or basically Digital Journal, to Vaughn the Journalist. I decided to make the revamp and the brand change just to give some more professionalism. So if you guys really like the logo or whatever, the banner, make sure to hit it up the comments and let me know, like, if you like the rebrand or if you like the other name from before. Another thing is too, if you guys have not subscribed, liked, or hit that notification bell, what are you doing? Make sure you do it now. I'm going to be putting out as much videos as possible soon than possible, because obvious reasons I only been out of YouTube for 2 months just due to the rebranding and making sure everything was right on my end before I even release any content. And I wanted to make sure the quality of the content as well. Before I even do that as well, my fault for that, we also have a Twitch channel now. You can sub to Vaughn the Gamer 1 on twitch.tv.com. That is Vaughn the Gamer 1. I've also revamped my Twitch on that as well, and we're gonna have some more projects coming for you guys soon. So if you guys want to see me commentate some games, watch some games, maybe even play some games like 2K or any other action game just in general, or even Call of Duty, I'm always here to basically play some games and basically play with my viewers. So with all that said, let's get into the scouting report of Patrick Williams. So Patrick Williams is pretty much a projected pick for this up and coming draft for the 2021 NBA draft that's going to most likely happen around August or September due to the NBA season being suspended and pushed back all the way to August, September due to COVID. However, this man may rise up in the draft stocks depending on certain needs of certain teams or how he impresses during combines or just in general during the period where the NBA is allowing any combines or workouts with certain teams. Patrick Williams is pretty much a 16th pick projection through mock draft. You can see from the projections right here from ESPN and the rest of the websites right here. ESPN 15th, NBA DraftNet 15th, Tankathon 16th, and Bleacher Report 17th. So it's a really good projection that he's at right here. He's most likely going mid-round to a team that's basically either just dropped short of making to the playoffs or pretty much made it into the playoffs and pretty much is going to be most likely a first round out, which could be an old team or could be a young and up and coming team regardless. So Patrick Williams, Moore says, is more of a defensive four, or more of like a defensive forward that can play interchangeable 3, 4, or even small ball 5. And it's really intriguing to see this prospect, especially going to certain teams like maybe OKC, maybe Sacramento Kings, maybe even Portland, because Portland needs a stretch 4, especially if Melo is going to be gone. And they are kind of missing a player like Al-Farouq Aminu, who left them earlier from that season, prior from before. Patrick Williams is a really good ceiling potential. He has a really good high ceiling potential. He has a high level play, especially on the defensive end. Basically talks out on defense a lot. Is a defensive forward that can possibly play and defend 3 and 4, maybe even play a small ball 5. He's a defensive playmaker with a great rotation, protect the rim, can catch and shoot from the 3-point line. He also can already have a really good frame and already a good NBA ready type body. Of course, he can add more weight to it, but however, he's already in that position to basically become an NBA player as it is. He can also attack off closeouts and is a great cutter and can also finish off of offensive rebounds as well. And that's just the max potential of this man as well. But there's also some flaws to his game as well, and we're going to get into that. Now, before we even jump into that in the first place, let's look at the stats from Florida State. In initial stats, he has 9.2 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 steal, 46% shooting, 32% from the three-point line, 84% from the free throw line, which is a big improvement. And his projected three-point line percentage would have been a 35 based off his season from Florida State. So Patrick Williams, especially coming out young, again, might be the best shooter obviously coming in, but he can basically show promise that he can hit that three with as much as ability as possible. So let's look into what ESPN said about him as well, and what everybody else is saying about him as well. I have most of my sources from ESPN, the Steven, which is a phenomenal site, and I've suggested you guys basically follow that site as much as possible for all coverage of prospects, man. This man, Steven Spencer from Twitter. I'm going to post a link down below as well, and also show you guys his Twitter page. But this man has been doing phenomenal work on all the prospects that's coming out. So I can't wait to show you guys Patrick Williams and all the stats that they have for this man right here in due time. So let's get started on the full breakdown on Patrick Williams. The 6'8" power forward, 225 pounds, 6'11" wingspan, Patrick Williams. So Patrick Williams from Florida State, as I said, 6'11" wingspan, pretty much 6'8", 225 pounds, already has the body, is above average already for his position if he was playing the small forward, but he's morally positioned for the power forward spot. He usually has a really good vertical pop in space, just based off his athleticism and frame overview, but he is in a very tight spot when it comes to basically downhill speed and everything else that comes with him. Again, as I said, strong frame, already an NBA ready type body, and can add some more weight, but he already knows what he has to do on the court, and he already knows what his role is. From a mental aspect, as I said, his role is basically in vital parts of the team winning. He doesn't step out of his boundaries to basically be the guy to basically take any shots. He knows his role. He does a nice job playing to his strengths, and he doesn't force any looks or take any shots that he cannot, or doesn't feel the reason of taking. Now, this is what ESPN said about his strengths and improvement areas, and then I'm going to go from ESPN to the Steven full analysis scouting report. So here we go. The strength is showing that he has the ideal, and this is from also Jonathan Giovanni from the Draft Express Scout, which was the former Draft Express editor or website editor or the scout just in general for the brand itself before it moved to ESPN. So his strength is he has an ideal physical profile for a forward at 6'8", 225 pounds with a wingspan around 7 foot, the length and athleticism to defend smaller players, also a powerful frame that allow him to switch into big men. He also shows flashes of the shooting touch off the dribble from mid-range, as well as stepping into the three-point line confidently and also hitting 84% of his free throws going in. Not only that, and a surprising fact for me, even from just watching and looking at tape and everything, he's the second youngest player in this draft class. He's somewhat going to be a late bloomer. He's only 18 years old, and he just turned 18 just a few months ago. So he's the second youngest player in this draft class. So it's crazy enough to see that for himself. Now, for the improvement areas for him from the ESPN side of things, he's a raw offensive player as always. He is the least prolific scorer around this first round draft pick, especially at his spot, power forward or playing small forward, regardless or not. He wasn't really efficient in his scoring role, thus he wasn't really into scoring like that. He's more just basically trying to help his team win as much as possible. His game moved a little bit too quickly sometimes for him. He posted the third worst assist to turnover ratio among projected draft picks who weren't big men, and his intensity level and effectiveness defensively comes and goes. So that's what Jonathan Giovanni had to say about Patrick Williams is a 3-and-D combo forward. Let's see what the Steven had to say. And I kind of disagree mostly on the simple fact that the third worst assist to turnover ratio wasn't really his fault mostly, or it's more just him basically doing mental things to himself to get them turnover ratios basically high up. So let's start with the offensive strengths of Patrick Williams according to the Steven. So his finishing, he has a very good quick second jump, a solid finisher, but not great enough to basically be called a great finisher around the rim. He can go up with either hand through traffic, but needs a little bit of work on his touch, which is not as consistent. But you can see in some of these clips right here, he is a big body and he can basically push people out the way and, you know, go up with physicality, which is really good. He uses length well. He's a great cutter and can automatically read the defense very well to find open pass lanes or open lanes for cuts and putback opportunities. He can power through through drives and attempts, but needs to work through finishing with contact, especially with a wall built up against him. Now, for post-up opportunities, he doesn't really get much post-up opportunities for the Florida State when he was playing with them. But in the NBA level, especially with his size, especially how big he is as far as physicality, he could be a really good post-up player against small players, especially when the switch happens. And you can also shoot over some defenders as well with his high release. Now, if you can improve his acceleration, he could be a really good face-up option against a more bigger stretch four option, say, as example, Myers Leonard or Kelly Olynyk, or even people like Harry Giles. Even he can basically speed right past them, bully them to the paint, use his size, use his length of wingspan, and basically get to the paint and score. So there's also something about his shooting, and I really love his shot mechanics. Even though it's a little bit rigid, even though he has a little hitch, he has a nice release point with his shot, and he's a really solid shooter. You can show right here, as again, from the 3-point line, he shot 32% from the three, and a projected NBA number, that would be 35%, which is really solid, especially for a rookie coming in to the NBA. Again, it could be better, obviously, but 35% coming in as a rookie, the second youngest rookie in the NBA draft, especially for this draft class, that is really good. And especially for what he can do on the other end, that is a really good 3-and-D type guy automatically coming in and potentially playing as your starter, or maybe just playing as a six-man just in general. So does a really good job squaring up as well with the rim, and has a really good, nice follow through with his shot. It's hard to block the shot even on the set shot as well. Again, the only thing that is the problem with Patrick Williams' shot is his mechanics is a bit rigid, and again has a slight release hitch, so it's a little off. But if he can get it going and basically improve his shot throughout throughout his rookie season and basically develop his shot, I believe Patrick Williams could have eclipsed a more efficient 3-point rating for himself. Now, in terms of versatility, in terms of basically putting him in situations where he can shoot and pretty much get him the ball off of screens, he's not that type of person. He's primarily a catch and shoot player. He's a pull-up jumper type of player as well. He can't really run off of screens whatsoever. He doesn't really have the speed to separate from his defender whatsoever as well. He has the potential of pulling up off the bounce through pick and rolls, jumpers, from off the catch pull-ups, from in and out pull-ups, and even ISO against some smaller bigs. He loves using fakes. He loves using jab steps whatsoever. But by any means, he is not an ISO scorer. But he could potentially also become a pick and pop big as well if ever he is put in a small ball 5 lineup. I believe Patrick Williams could set his feet and become a great pick and popper as well for any team that he plays on. He does a nice job setting his feet. He has a consistent release on catch and shoot attempts as well, and has flashed a couple times in his college game. Florida State loved putting him in opportunities of pick and roll 5s, and not only that, just in general, basically putting him at the 4 and basically having him run off the pick and roller, and basically have him become a vocal point of the offense as well. Sometimes, not all the times, but most of the times. His shot IQ is really good, but you can really work on some things as well. His jump shot from the mid-range to the three-point line are nearly a 50-50 split, which is 100% great. That is fantastic. But again, when you dig deep into his shot isolation, or basically where he shoots at his location, you can see it right here on the picture as well. He has a high volume of mid-range jump shots due to coming off a closeout, and pretty much shoots in tight and crowded spots. Sometimes settles for the contested mid-range jump shot, or even miss an open pass lane, which he could have just passed the ball out straight out. Again, he is not the type of player to just take up for tough shots, but sometimes when pressured or feels that he has enough space, when really he doesn't, he takes a really bad angles on some shots or some mid-range jump shots, instead of just keeping his head up and looking for his teammate, either cutting or basically dropping it down inside to the lane. So Patrick Williams really need to find a way to basically work out his mid-range jump shot and basically getting comfortable. But when he is on, he can hit the mid-range jump shots, especially the pull-up off them pick and rolls as well. Now for his handle is a great handle. Again, he doesn't have the straight line drive ability, but when it comes to just basically driving into the lane, using his strength and body, he can basically become a straight line driver, attacking off the catch, and show some nice flashes of adjustments on drives, piecing up really good multiple dribble moves when he has to. He can lead in transition. As soon as he grabs the rebound, he can basically lead the break if needed. He is really good in terms of hesitation, in and out crossovers. He can set up drives and likes doing spins, even though it is not his best move whatsoever by far. He doesn't create a lot of separation off of spins due to his lack of speed, burst, or basically acceleration. He's also very prone of picking up his dribble as well, or picking up his pivot foot on drives to the basket before making his moves. Will open up a lot of travel. He has a nice first step for a 4, but then again, due to the downhill speed, it makes it easier for defenders to recover, either to on the ball or to rotate. And that's one of the reasons why of his turnovers and offensive foul assist to turnover ratio just in general. He's a very functional ball handler, to say the least. But again, you do not want this guy basically handling the ball the whole game. Now, the most intriguing part about Patrick Williams on the offensive end, and it's not just basically his pure strength or basically his ability to be a putback guy, or just basically catching and shooting. What it is that really intrigued me about Patrick Williams, just especially, is how good he is in the pick and roll situation. Now, and I'm not saying has a pick and roller or a big guy rolling to the basket. He is a really good pick and roll handler of the ball. He is a good combo 4. He plays with solid pace and shows ability to manipulate defenses, and even showing flashes of freezing defenses and open up looks. He's not only a side or a swing pick and roll player as well, he can also attack by moving the defense as well off them pick and rolls. And he's also good at attacking set defenses as well, going through his progressions. His pick and roll ability makes him an intriguing prospect, especially at the 16th spot of the draft, because his potential running a 4-5 pick and roll, or just running with other players as well, especially based off their size. You can run a 4-1 pick and roll, you can run a 4-2 pick and roll, even 4-3, and even at the next level, he can create mismatches with his ability to become a lead ball handler and look to attack smaller players, and even look to use different screeners. He can also be a mismatch to a pick and pop guy as well, and basically run inside, and basically, as soon as he basically gets switched on to another guy off the pick and roll, if he's the popper or if he's the roller, he can take advantage of the size disadvantage and basically go inside and body his way into a basket. He also makes great reads and shows the ability to even make cross-course passes with his left hand, which is very rare for his age and especially for his position. He doesn't get flustered by extra pressure as well, but he shouldn't be a primary pick and roll player, obviously, but he is a solid 3-level scorer on the pick and roll. And I think teams are going to exploit that as well, especially using his size, his frame, and the ability to at least handle the ball, especially at his size. He should be a great fit for a team that really just needs a playmaking 4 or pretty much a stretch 4 that can help out, at least set some screens, stand in his corner if even. And I feel as though he can fit into most any offense around in the NBA level if he continues to do what he does, especially from a college level, and improve and show scouts that he can stretch out and shoot, can stand stationary, or become a pick and roll type of option on the offensive end. So Patrick Williams on the offensive end shows very much intrigue, but let's now get into Patrick Williams on the defensive end, and I think this is where he really shines. With Patrick Williams on the defensive end, he gives you a strong defensive IQ, and he also knows how to rotate. He is a great positional defender. You know how to play on the elbows and the block for help. He always keeps his head on the swivel as well, and he loves to talk to defense when he's the backline defender. He's very vocal to telling his teammates what the opponent is doing and what's going on. He shows and express pretty much the knowledge of the game through his defense. He also can tell his teammates where to move at and pretty much direct traffic from there. He does a very nice job keeping his hands in and out of the passing lanes. He tags the roll off of pick and rolls and also cutters off the ball. Does a great job pinching and shading off his man to cut off passes, contest a shot, stop a drive from going on, or just make the correct rotations just to maintain the shell. Can close off 2 defenders with his length and positioning. That 6'11" wingspan helps him a lot. Sometimes he's also a risk taker on the defensive end, and sometimes it helps gambling, using his size and advantage to basically get out to a pass, telegraphic, and basically get the steal on the other end and create offense from there. He also helps and add extra pressure, which in times do lead him to basically getting turnovers or just getting a steal, forcing turnovers and getting a steal. Again, he is not a major defensive playmaker, but he can make plays, and using his 6'11" wingspan to the fullest, he can create deflections and take away a lot of passing lanes for a lot of teams. So I really think Patrick Williams, in terms of defensive awareness, his team defense, and just basically fit into the mold, I believe Patrick Williams is going to be a really good defensive player at the NBA level. Now, there's some things obviously he is not 100% on in terms of basically him being defensive in a prior of him being on-ball defender, but let's talk about his positives first compared to his negatives. So his rim protection is not the best. Obviously, he's not a 100 true rim protector, and you can't really put him at the 5 for very long unless you're playing against a small ball lineup, of course. But he is a great rotating rim protector. He's a good weak side blocker. He's not a major shot blocker, but he relies mostly on his length and going straight up and rotating his body to affect shots, which is pretty much how Roy Hibbert played, but more, if you think of more or less how Patrick Williams' size is at 6'8", and pretty much his wingspan, which is 6'11", he basically plays like a more shorter Roy Hibbert when it comes to basically blocking shots and affecting shots. Instead of just blocking shots outright, he just goes straight up and basically rotates his body. Now, he can basically get baited by a lot of pump fakes and does get into a little bit of foul trouble here and there. He isn't the quickest leaper, which limits him a little bit, especially when he has to make a second ditch effort. He does a nice job standing his ground. He can take a hit in the air and not be pushed back so far as well. Again, as I said, a great help side blocker. He does a poor job, especially against quicker guards, once getting beaten off the bounce, and cannot get in front of them most of the time, especially to block this shot in time. Quicker guards can basically exploit this and basically have him on the hip to where he can basically affect the shot whatsoever if the guard is smart and basically frees the defense and know he has a free drive to the lane for a floater or at least a mid-range jump shot. Patrick Williams does not have the length to, or at least the speed to keep up and basically block the shot from behind or at least get in front whatsoever in terms of basically his rim protection or just basically blocking shots in terms of defense. Now for his post defense, he doesn't defend as much on post up in college game due to the fact Florida State switch a lot on defense. However, he can become a very solid post defender just due to his frame and base. For his age, he has a solid upper body strength. He's a very good frame as well. As I said, known to how to use his body and don't shy away whatsoever from contact. Again, he shouldn't be a primary defender, a post defender, especially going against the likes of, say, Jokic, Embiid, or just any other post player that usually plays the 4 like Julius Randle. But again, he can be trusted on switches and he can hold his ground and at least delay the post player before the post player can even make his move, and can basically rely on help from that point on. So post defense, especially on switches, he can do it, and he can basically hold his own a little bit in the paint. Again, he's not the best post defender, but he can do what is needed to basically help his defense win a possession. In this case, in the pick and roll defense, this is where I believe he needs a lot more work on, especially pick and roll defense. Again, as I said, Florida State basically switch a lot during pick and rolls, but in the time that he does get in pick and roll defense, or basically is the pick and roll guy that's getting screened, he doesn't get skinny enough to basically play it, and he doesn't play over the top as well. He doesn't do a good job filling out the screen as well, so he can't really body up and see what's going on as far as the screen, or doesn't really try to get skinny or try to play over the screen to get anywhere within it. So it's really tough on him, especially with his frame, and also just having the lack of lateral quickness to basically keep up with guards, especially athletic guards that can basically beat him towards the basket. He has a very good shot contest, but in terms of him basically rotating, he does a great job. He needs some work as far as the athleticism to basically get out on the shooter in time. It really hurts him, especially moves after the catch. So especially in position where a player is in a catch and shoot situation and he rotates in time to at least prevent something, he isn't the perfect guy to basically close out and basically react or get in time of stopping the player from making a move off the baseline or just in general off the wing, especially in catch and shoot situations. He's not the greatest at shooting, getting out on shooters on time because of his straight line speed, and also he bites a lot on pump fakes. It takes some time to contest even after closeouts. He's not light on his feet. You can basically get caught in the heel, which creates a lot of separation, especially for players that has the ability to basically shot create and basically use step backs and pretty much Euro step moves to basically get inside the lane. He does a nice job as though using his wingspan and length to make shooters uncomfortable, and he does recognize where shooters are at, especially when he's making his scramble and basically trying to get out to shooters. His wingspan, as I said, helps him a lot, but the thing is where you have to watch here, especially in the NBA, is the ability to basically close out, is because it's a lot more space in the NBA game and also a little bit more ground to cover. So especially if the 4 or 5 has the speed to basically blow right by him, especially in NBA level when it's all about 5 out or 4 out 1 in offense, to where the point guard is basically dominating the game, especially when he's rotating, it's going to be really tough on him to basically get out there and create a defensive play, especially against a more quicker 4, 5, or even 3, depending on who he's guarding, or even 1 or 2s when he's rotating out on them. So it's going to be really tough on him, but hopefully he can improve on his shot contest and basically getting out there. Now for off-ball defender, as I said, he is a really good off-ball defender. But as I said, I do not trust Patrick Williams in terms of chasing guards or basically chasing screens. He does a nice job, has a weak side defender, somebody that's just going to stay in their corner, and basically he can help out from there. He has the length and athleticism to basically get steals, especially if a telegraph pass or basically anticipating the pass from the off ball. If the ball is going to him as an off-ball player, he also can jump in and basically be a weak side defender. And I feel as though he does a great job just, being in a stationary position to where he doesn't have to really move as much. And all he has to do is just read what's going on in terms of the defense and also just directing his guys in traffic. He plays a little bit stiff. He is a little bit upright when he is moving, especially on the offense. Especially in the off-ball end, as again, lacks the straight line speed to stay glued on off-ball players or moving through screens. He is prone to gambling. As I said, he's a risk taker in terms of basically playing a passing lane sometimes. Instead of just simply rotating for a closeout, he will try to go for the steal and try as much, but especially when the ball moves as quickly as he can, and especially if he cannot get out in time and basically get back to his defender, he is prone to give up a lot of three-point opportunities or just a lot of attacking mid-ranges or basically layups straight to the basket. Now, as far as on-ball defense, he's not that great either in terms of on-ball. And off-ball, he's really good. In terms of communication, he's really good. But on-ball, that's where he really needs to really improve his game to the highest percentage, because he's not really great at guarding guards or athletic wings. They can just blow right by him. They can attack Williams off the bounce, beat him downhill, can beat him with straight line drives, one move attacks, and even change the pace moves. He has a problem changing directions at times as well, through space and keeping his footwork in line, and doesn't work through to stop and go as well, especially against guards that can basically stop, crossover and go, or just do any type of move of basically doing a stop and go as a hesitation move whatsoever. He shows some flashes, has anticipation, but isn't reliable in terms of his slow hit turns and feet movement, but again can cover ground well with his wingspan. Now that's pretty much it from an offensive and defensive game. Now I'm going to tell you some projections of pretty much what his game could come out to and what his potential role could be in the NBA. So let's be on tap out and look at that just for a moment. Now for Patrick Williams, his overall game, as I said, is a stretch 4, small ball 5 that can run pick and roll or pick and pop. He is a solid catch and shoot percentage and also can attack and close out. He is great cutting off the ball, can crash the offensive glass, and is a strong team defender when is at the 4 and really not as moving as much on the defensive end. He needs to improve his athleticism on both sides. That's how he can become a really good player, and basically become a potential steal in the draft, to where players are just, or basically teams are blown away to the point where they can actually put him at the 4 and see if he can even grow into a possible all-star in the league as he progressed as a player. And again, it's a really good potential project pick, especially for his age, being 18 and everything, and being the second youngest player in the draft. He can add value on the defensive side if he improves. He lives on the defensive IQ, rotation, and playing passing lanes. My projection for him and his role was most likely going to be a 6-man, a top of rotation guy, or even a starter going out from day one. Patrick Williams has the ability to become a really good starter if he can basically fit into the role of basically being a stationary 4, catch and shoot 4, that can play defense on the other end and become a weak side helper, or just basically keeping up with some 4s at his position as well. He's a 6'8", and he has very high energy, especially on the offensive end of getting putbacks, getting finishes, can shoot, and pretty much can also jump up and affect shots especially as a weak side defender. So I really like him at that spot. Now, if I had to really compare him to somebody in the NBA, or is playing in the NBA, or before a player in the NBA, I'll compare him to a player that's outside the NBA right now, Chris Singleton. Chris Singleton had the same body and same mass, same gameplay and everything. He just couldn't translate it in terms of the NBA. But Patrick Williams has a better shot than him. So if I had to say in terms of a player that's in the NBA, or two players that's in the NBA, Al-Farouq Aminu with a better shooting release starting out. I believe Patrick Williams has the ability to basically stretch out and shoot, but also have the athleticism, especially has a weak side helper to not only just basically defend at the rim, but also, you know, play the passing lanes, anticipate passes and whatever, and become a really good defender in terms of that. But in terms of on-ball defense, as I said, Al-Farouq Aminu better than him at that, but he could improve into the type of player that Al-Farouq Aminu is right now, and just in the span of 2 years, maybe 3. Now, the person that I really 100% say he goes with is Jeff Green, younger Jeff Green, without a full shot creating ability. I feel Patrick Williams could shot create, but he's not as good as Jeff Green, where he can basically put up near 16 points to 17 points like he did with the Boston Celtics in terms of Jeff Green. But I believe Patrick Williams could be that guy to put up at least 14 to 13 points per game, and just basically just pull up jump shots, basically running off the pick and roll, attacking mismatches if he can, and just basically shooting off the catch and shoot. I feel like as though if you really wanted him to play any type of game or any type of system where he becomes the lead pick and roll guy, where he becomes a handoff guy, or he becomes the guy on top of the key making high post reads and whatever, or if you just wanted to be stationary, I believe you can, and I believe he can be input in that ability to basically score off the 4 or even the 3 if necessary for him, and become that Jeff Green type of guy. So I honestly believe Patrick Williams is going to be at the highest top of the ceiling. But if we had to say his lower ceiling, or just basically his mid ceiling, as I said, he's going to be a good team defender. If this was his mid ceiling, good team defender at the 4, can't really place at the 3, a very high 6-man or starter, and can do everything, but just on a lesser scale in terms of his ability. And if you have to say his low ceiling, most likely a top of a rotation guy at the 4, and only at the 4. Quicker 4s can beat him, especially on the defensive end. He's not a great finisher, not a great passer from the high post or pick and roll area, and just more of a stationary PJ Tucker type guy at the corner for catch and shoot opportunities. So that's it for Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is, I believe, going to be a really good mid-round prospect and has potential to become a really solid player, or is still the draft to where he is playing as a starter role, playing the 4 or 5, or playing a small ball 5, playing 4, or playing the 3, whatever you need him. And I feel as though whatever team gets him, they're going to get a hell of a player, especially in the pick and roll opportunity. So that's it from me, guys. This is Vaughn the Journalist. It's been great looking at this video, and basically great looking at this prospect. Again, guys, gonna have more videos coming soon on the way, especially more on the bubble and more on some prospects coming in for the draft. I may do a more earlier round draft prospect instead of relying on international players or mid-round draft picks such as this one. As again, guys, make sure you subscribe and also like this channel, as we're going to be doing way more videos as well. And if you guys want to check out my old videos, you can. The Kursanov video, and also Denny Avija video, and also the Brooklyn Nets video on their head coaching possibility as well. Even though they are inside the bubble and they're not worried about it at this time, it's still a good read to look at, especially as head coaching opportunities, with the potential of Jock Vaughn being gone and everything. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is Vaughn Journalist. I am out. Peace out, everybody. Peace.